Welcome back to AL-JABR School of Thought. In this episode, we continue the definition and explanation of the evolution of mathematics during the Golden Age. In this episode, we are going to shed more light on the father of algorithm, or we can also call him the father of algebra. His name is Muḥammad ibn Mūsā al-Khwārizmī. He was the most famous Arab mathematician in history. He lived between the year 780 and 850 CE. One of the most popular books that he used to change the course of mathematics till this day is al-Kitāb al-mukhtaṣar fi ḥisāb al-JABR wa-l-muqābala, which translates to the compendium book on calculation by completion and balancing. This book details the step-by-step approach on how to carry out the solution of a particular problem, which we are familiar with today. Whenever we are dealing with our mathematics, we solve the problem using a step-by-step method, which is very important whenever we solve any question in mathematics. He was the founder of this step-by-step approach in solving mathematics problem. In his book al-Kitāb al-mukhtaṣar fi ḥisāb al-JABR wa-l-muqābala, he exposes the Western world to a dynamic representation of numbers in nature. He employed the usage of 9 digits and 0 to represent any digit in nature. He came across this representation first in his encounter with an Hindu manuscript. That is why we call this number Indo-Arabic numerals. And later on, this representation was later transferred to the Western world through a scientist called Fibonacci. And during this time, before the adoption of this number system by the Western world are familiar with the Roman numerals. When you observe the Roman numerals, there is no representation for 0. So the development of 0, or the introduction of 0, was perfected by the Arab mathematicians. That was why we actually call 0. It is coined from an Arabic word which is sifar, which means empty. He showed Europeans that there was a better way to do arithmetic. You can represent any number you like with 10 simple symbols, according to Muhammad ibn Mūsā al-Khwārizmī. In his treatise, he teaches people how to apply algebra to economic inheritance law. The word algebra and al-muqābala were operations used by al-Khwārizmī. Is more or less like we are dealing with addition and subtraction in recent time. According to him, in his book, he explained the concept of algebra first. He was the first person to explain the concept of algebra, which means restoration or completion. Using this operation in his book, he used it by adding equal terms to both sides of an equation to get rid of negative terms. Let's take, for instance, the equation we have, which is x squared minus 40x equals to 4x squared. Al-Khwārizmī used algebra to add 4x squared to both sides of the equation and get 5x squared equals to 40x. That act, or that method of restoration or completion, was first carried out by al-Khwārizmī in his book. Al-Muqābala is the opposite operation of algebra. We have explained that algebra means restoration or completion. Al-Muqābala means balancing. This was the operation used to subtract equal terms from both sides of an equation. Take this equation for instance. 50 plus s squared equals to 29 plus 10s. Al-Khwārizmī used what he called al-Muqābala to subtract 29 from each side of the equation, and this gives 21 plus s squared equals to 10s. So when next you deal with solving an equation, a linear equation, by getting rid of any negative terms or getting rid of any positive terms, make sure you remember that Muḥammad ibn Mūsā al-Khwārizmi was the founder of this approach. As you can see, al-muqābala and algebra were operations defined by al-Khwārizmi in his book, and we still made use of those operations today, but we rather call it subtraction and addition respectively. His operation, algebra, is where our modern word algebra comes from. Algebra in its basic is the translation of real-world problems into mathematics symbols and equations. These equations were then solved to get results to our problems. So when we talk about algebra, it means a representation for word problems which we then solve to get solution to our problem, which is actually a concept of applying mathematics to solve real-world problems. Algebra is the generalization of arithmetic in which symbols, usually letters, are used to represent numbers. This makes it possible to develop many general results by deriving symbolic formula. Al-Khwārizmī was the first mathematician to develop a general recipe for solving quadratic equation. Our quadratic equation, which is as squared plus bs plus c, was first solved using a general approach by Muḥammad ibn Mūsā al-Khwārizmī. He also invented the method that we now call completing the square method, which is actually a general recipe that gives us the universal formula called the general formula, which we also called in layman language. In layman language, we call it the almighty formula. Muḥammad ibn Mūsā al-Khwārizmi, from his name al-Khwārizmī, and this signifies his hometown where he comes from. This name was Latinized to Algoritmi. Why? Because in his book, his work concentrates on sequence of instruction that tells us how to accomplish a task. It's more or less like a step-by-step approach in solving a problem. That is why mathematics is known for step-by-step approach to solve a question. Also, computer programming is also known for step-by-step approach in solving a problem. And this was first developed in his book. And this should be given to Muḥammad ibn Mūsā al-Khwārizmi. We should rather call him one of the best brains we have in history. He was the scholar that worked in the House of Wisdom, Darul Hikmah. He studied both Persian and Indian mathematics texts and later developed a new dimension about mathematics that brings to us the new mathematics that we have today. This is a chart showing the development of his ideas over the years. In the year 762, Darul Hikmah was created. In the year 780, Muḥammad ibn Mūsā al-Khwārizmi was given birth to, and he wrote the book al-Kitāb al-mukhtaṣar fi ḥisāb al-JABR wa-l-muqābala between the year 813 and 833, which was later translated to Latin in the 12th century. So this is the chart of the history that brought about the new paradigm shift in mathematics, which is called and applied mathematics now. Every credit should be given to Muḥammad ibn Mūsā al-Khwārizmi for making mathematics more applicable to our modern world. We have to note that the contribution of Muḥammad ibn Mūsā al-Khwārizmi is not negligible, but unfortunately his contribution is not at the limelight, is not found at the peak when we talk about mathematician in modern history. We have to note that this contribution of Muḥammad ibn Mūsā al-Khwārizmi has brought new view and new application concept to mathematics. There will be no modern mathematics or physics without algebra, and there will be no computer that will work effectively without algorithm. Muḥammad ibn Mūsā Alkwarizmi, in my own opinion, should therefore be called the father of applied mathematics, and he should also be regarded to, in my own opinion, as the first programmer, because without algorithm there won't be any program to make computer function. If you want us to profile a particular Arab mathematician that have changed the course of history during the golden age, please comment below. If this video has exposed you to the right conception of mathematics and its application, please subscribe to my channel and like this video. Till we meet again, ideas rule the world.